How's it going today, guys? I just want to get on real quick to say, man, one of the biggest reasons why I love Jesus, why I love the Lord, because every day I'm reminded that I just can't autopilot my life. I can't just let things happen. I have to be active. I have to be intentional. And I don't mean just, oh, I had good intentions. I didn't mean for it to go that way. But being intentional. And one of the biggest things I know this could be a hindrance, and I could definitely talk to myself about this, is nostalgia and the way things used to be. When we are caught up relishing on the way things used to be, it can blind us to the way things need to be. When we think about who we used to be, it can blind us to who we're becoming. And especially as men, when you aren't focused on what you need to do, you can't show up correctly in places that you are needed. Proverbs chapter 14 verse 23 talks about, in all labor there is profit, but the talk of them lips, I don't know how to pronounce the word, but it leads to nothing but penury, P-E-N-U-R-Y, scarcity, famine, suffering. That's what that word means. And one of the biggest things, like for me, if you guys know, I used to have my locks. I never used to, I didn't have no phone for it at some point in time. I was homeless at one point in time, and I used to love it because it felt like freedom. And you know, one of the greatest things that scares that type of freedom? Structure. Avoiding responsibility is avoiding structure. And every bill you get is not responsibility. Bills can be a form of responsibility, but that don't mean just take on every single type of bill. No, not at all. You're actually thinking about the things that you want in your life. I'm not just getting Netflix because my friends are offering me a good TV show. Oftentimes, that's how most of us lead to Apple taking that last bit of $10, because as the seed that was planted with that Netflix wasn't due to responsibility. You just heard someone talking about a TV show so much, or something caught your attention, now you're thinking about getting it, but you're not actually actively thinking about where Netflix may fit into your terrible spending habit, all your other responsibilities, and so forth and so on. And it doesn't have to just be Netflix. It can be anything that doesn't seem like a lot of money, but compounds into money that you know you need. You get what I'm saying? And again, when a man is not properly showing up for what he needs, he cannot actively and correctly show up for where he's needed. And again, for the women, you know, this can apply, but like I say, seek Jesus, not validation. That's the simplest thing I can tell women, because I'm not a woman. I believe women can kind of offer the truth in a much more way, that better way that relates to them. I'm not a woman, but obviously, you know what I'm saying? Everything I say is always directed toward the men. Avoiding responsibility is not going to help you. Again, I remember the thought of getting haircuts used to terrify me. The thought of getting a lineup used to terrify me, because I had free forms. I used to walk around with this saying, free forms because the form is free. But what is it free of? Free of some hair care? You get what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what is it really free from? Man, things used to be so much better back in the day. Yeah, but you didn't have that much responsibilities. You didn't know as much as you do now. You were depressed back then. You know what I mean? You were around people that didn't really care for you back then. You get what I'm saying? And this is why, again, I love being with Jesus, because I have to be very active. 2 Corinthians, I don't remember the chapter, but we were talking about it yesterday in church, and it's the verse I mentioned in one of my videos before. The thoughts that the imaginations and the thoughts that brings itself up to a higher place against the knowledge of God, you have to cast those down. You don't cast down thoughts like that by accident. It's an intentional walk with the Lord. It's an intentional carrying of the cross daily. It does not happen by accident. You start allowing those thoughts to sit in your head and ruminate, and you do nothing about it, that is on you. You know what I mean? Like, real deal. I have to start reminding myself. I was just telling my students the other day, I have to start reminding myself of the truth sometimes. I caught myself ruminating on the way things used to be when I had my free forms, man. I was making, doing my thing. Yeah, but you didn't have responsibility. You were actually avoiding it. I didn't have to worry about paying for my haircuts. Yeah, but your locks are super dirty, filthy, and full of, my goodness. You were depressed, bro, and you were great at hiding it. The same way, here's the kicker, the same way I did my drugs is the same way I live my life. I'd be high, drunk, or whatever, and great at acting as if I wasn't. Depressed, suicidal thoughts, but walking around as if I don't have that on me. Here's the kicker. You know, you ever had those moments where you're high or whatever the case may be, and you're like, do I look high? Bro, hold on, bro, there go the police. Act sober. Why, when it comes to an authoritative figure or something coming around, we have to act out something that we naturally are? Oh man, me, Esau back then, hated this speech. Me back then, hated this. Because I wanted freedom. It's okay to think about back then every now and then, but you over here still trying to make up for your high school glory days, man. It's done and over with, bro. Talk about it and move forward. We almost 30, 40, 50, whatever the case it may be. And you over here trying to compensate for what you got, what someone talked about and you got bullied for in high school. And again, that's a great place to start if you're being honest. Because that really can affect an adult. Pretending like it didn't bother you is worse than actually just admitting it. But real deal, man. Relishing in the way things used to be can oftentimes throw us off track to the way things need to be. The past is the place to learn from, not to live in. Every conversation shouldn't be about where you came from, where you used to be. Why aren't you talking about where you're headed? Why aren't you talking about what you're doing right now? Y'all take that as food for thought, man. Have a blessed day, y'all.